Hello, so the Bridgerton event has already happened. I am coming to you from the future, or I guess the present, I don't know. But anyways, I'm filming this intro after I've already done everything because I was so crunched for time while I was making all of my Bridgerton stuff that that's just kind of how it happened. So this week's video, I'm going to be making a Regency men's shirt for Micah and also a waistcoat. I'm going to be going through Micah's costume for the Bridgerton event first. This video will be the first of two for Micah's costume, and that'll be the Regency men's undershirt, or I guess it's just a shirt, and then also the waistcoat. So the waistcoat, I am using a pattern from Black Snail, and for the Regency shirt, I'm using a tutorial from the Modern Maker. You can check out his YouTube channel. He's got a lot of great tutorials as well. And that's pretty much it. So let's go back into the past and go look at the pattern. So this is my page for Micah's costume. I'm gonna be basing it mostly off of Colin and the Duke of Hastings. I can't remember what his actual name is. Simon. I'm gonna be basing Micah's costume kind of off of Colin's and Simon's costume. We don't already own anything that resembles a Regency shirt, so that is something that I'm gonna need to make, and I'm gonna follow Matthew Nagy's tutorial for his Regency shirt. I took Micah's measurements, they're all here. I took them in inches because I didn't realize the tutorial was in centimeters. So I have converted everything to centimeters, and the cutting diagram is all in proportions of height and chest. So I've done those conversions already, so I don't have to do them while I'm cutting. Yeah, it's just a lot of numbers. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing right now. I'm just going to cut everything out, and I think I'm going to do everything with flat felt seams as well, since it's a sturdy seam and it can go through the wash really easily. It's not historically accurate. I mean, I guess felled seams are historically accurate, but I'm going to be doing everything with machine because, you know, it's faster, and Micah's a little rough on his clothes, so I want to do something sturdy. Yeah, so let's get cutting. I'm using linen because that seems to be the most period accurate. So unlike the undergarments that I made for myself where I use cotton because it's kind of lighter, I really like I don't know, it's really light linen, but it has more weight to it and more texture to it than the cotton does. So I thought that would be nice for Micah's shirt. Okay, I think I must have been doing some kind of math wrong because it works even in inches, and I don't know what I was doing. So you can do all your measurements and everything in inches. It's based on proportion, not on any actual measurements. So just ignore what I said earlier. Yes? Honey, I need this stuff. Okay, we're a little zoomed out this time because there's two of us in frame, so you know, you can see parts of my wall, but whatever. First, really quickly, before I go into the fitting for this waistcoat, this shirt is too small for Micah. The modern maker has a good tutorial. Like, I liked the tutorial, it was great. It doesn't fit though. So the measurements that he uses, it's like all by proportion. It's just, it ended up too small. But the sleeves are too short by about like a good 3-4 inches, and the neck just does not fit. I'm not gonna remake it for this event because it'll work fine. A lot of the Bridgerton dudes, like, they wear it open anyways, so I'll just hide it with a cravat and the jacket, it'll be fine. And then, like, obviously the sleeves are gonna be covered by the tailcoat. So we're just gonna go with that, and it fits me, so I'll be able to wear it in the future, but I'm not remaking this for just this event. Okay. Okay. You gotta put this on. I made this draper's apron as part of my grad program. That was like one of our first patterning projects, and it's very handy in fittings, but not in fittings of myself. So I've marked a center front line down the center front, and I've also marked it on the inside. Because I don't have buttons here, I've just drawn on where they go. So I'm just pinning this all along the center front so I know where it will end up closing. So on the like Bridgerton show stuff, they have a collar that goes up like this, but I think this is fine. I don't see that for the Duke's collar at all, just for Collins, so we'll just go with this. The one thing I want to look at is how wide out this is. So his only seemed to go to about here-ish. Yeah, that looks better. So I'm just gonna... I think this is just too far over maybe. So I want it to roll less. I like the lapel starting at about here rather than all the way there, so I'm just gonna tuck that under again. Okay, that looks better, and I'll just take it from this side instead. And that will get like buttoned down here, so that'll look fine. Holes, they're maybe a little bit narrow for you. Like your shoulder is out here, so I'll probably need to just take this out. Okay, yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, so I'm gonna let this out by a ½ inch so that it's where the actual like cut line was. That looks better. How does it fit? Oh, this seems to fit you just fine down here. Does it feel too big or too small?
It's not too small.
So I'm trying to decide if I need to take out here or if I should just leave it so that it's got some space here. Can you like bend forward a little bit? Oh, yeah, I think I want to leave that space there. Okay, stand up straight. If I did take that out, what would that look like? No, I think having a little bit of space right there is good. Only alterations I'm making are to make the lapels smaller, just like significantly smaller, by just kind of shaving off this very front edge here. And then I'm letting out the arm's eye a little bit just at the top, because where it was at, Micah's shoulder bone is like right here, but it needs to cover at least the shoulder bone. I don't think it needs to go much farther than the shoulder bone, so if it just covers the shoulder bone, that's okay. Underneath the arm, I don't want it to come up any higher because it'll just be uncomfortable. I don't know. Is that okay?
Yeah.
It's not digging too much into your armpit?
No, I think I noticed it more than I did before, but it's not.
But it's not uncomfortable at all?
No.
Yeah, so I think actually I'll let the whole arm's eye out just a ½ inch so that it's where the cut line was, and I think that looks pretty good. Great, so that's pretty much it for the waistcoat alterations. The pattern that I used is Black Snail Patterns, and all I've done to alter that pattern is change the front, this front part. So I had added a lot more, and that's why it's so big. Probably could have just left it actually. So this pattern worked really well, and I think that it, like, the sizing is clearly good. That's it. I think the pocket placement is also good down here. I just drew it on. I didn't actually mark anything, but I think that's a good pocket placement. It'll make a very small pocket, so he's not gonna be able to fit that much in there, but I think it looks pretty good. I'm gonna go stand back here really quick. Maybe it's a little bit too far over for this, because it does run into the pocket almost. I guess that's fine. Maybe I'll set the pocket back just a ½ an inch so that it is not as close to that. So right now there's only like a ¼ inch. If I set it back here, that looks a lot better. Hi. Okay, we're done with the fitting now. Time to cut fabric. Do on the vest is to make the pocket. To start with, I just fused the back of this so that it doesn't fray out while I'm working on it. I've kind of forgotten how to do welt pockets, so I'm gonna refer to my book, Classic Tailoring Techniques for Menswear by Roberto Cabrera. I think that the welt pockets on the Black Snail pattern are really ugly, even if they are like historically accurate or whatever. They're ugly, so I'm gonna do more modern welt pockets because I think it'll look nicer. You're making pockets, you want to make sure that you press all these little teeny tiny seams open really well. So like the one that connects the welt to the pocket bag, and then the ones like on the sides of the welts, so that everything is really nice and crisp when you turn it outside. When I'm doing this step where I'm cross-stitching the back, catching the back of the welt so it stays stuck to the front of the vest without having any visible stitches. It's done, I can put the front canvas in, and then after the canvas, that's all of the like time-consuming stuff, and we can put the rest of the vest together. The canvas is really simple, it's just kind of time-consuming. Basically, you tailor baste the canvas to the back of the vest so it stays in place while you're doing all of the stay tape, and then you just put stay tape on it and stitch the stay tape down. You can anchor the canvas to the pockets as well, and that'll help keep the canvas a little bit more in place. It doesn't really get permanently stitched down anywhere except along the pockets and along the outer edge. Before you stay tape the outside of the canvas, you want to make sure it's all shaped correctly so that it will easily follow the outside edge of the vest without like any, I don't know, puckering or bunching. So To do that, I'm just using steam to make sure this will shape into a curve, and then at each corner I'm clipping it so that it's almost all the way through, but not quite. You don't want to just like pleat it or fold it over without snipping it, because it'll make it a lot bulkier, whereas if you snip it and then fold it over, it helps it lie a lot flatter. So now that I've got it shaped out, I'm just going to transfer that to the actual canvas. Okay, I am visiting my parents right now, so we have a different backdrop than normal. For this whole thing, I gotta say I am not nearly as comfortable making men's clothes as I am making women's clothes, so I'm very confident in making dresses. Even if I have never made the style of dress before, I can usually piece together what the dress is going to like be and kind of imagine what it's going to look like just from seeing pattern pieces and, you know, that kind of thing. That is not the case for men's garments at all. So I have qualms with both of the patterns that I use, both for the undershirt and then also for the waistcoat. So let's start with the undershirt. Also, it's like 90 degrees right now, so it's very hot. Baby Bat is right next to me. Oh, hello. She's also been very hot all day, so I'm gonna just let her chill out right there. Okay, we're like a sweaty mess, so apologies for that. But to start with, the shirt pattern that I used was from Matthew Nagy's The Modern Maker, his video on his Regency shirt. I think that maybe it works really well for his body proportions. He is a little bit broader chested than Micah is compared to his height, I think, whereas Micah is very, very skinny. However, even though Micah is really skinny, he's got pretty broad shoulders and a wider neck than this pattern kind of supposed he would with the proportions. So also longer arms. I don't know, with the chest measurement, Micah has a pretty like narrow torso, so going off of his chest measurement was really not correct. I think that if you've got more of an average build, then this pattern might work really well for you, but because Micah's really lanky, it didn't work super well for him. The sleeves ended up too short, the neck ended up too like small, and then the wrist cuffs were They were okay. They were like a little bit verging on too tight, but I knew what Micah's wrist measurement was from my notes, so I had that on hand so I could kind of adjust. Whereas the other measurements, I just trusted in the pattern. I probably should have double checked that, but just learned from my mistake that this pattern works very well for the modern maker's proportions, maybe not so much if you are very skinny. So that was the first one. However, I will say that even if this doesn't fit Micah, it fits me, so I will still be able to get use out of it. It's like basically a pirate shirt, even though it's not really, so I can base a pirate look off of it. So it's not going to be a total waste. I will still be able to use it, and you know, that's great. For the waistcoat, I am not super familiar with what Regency men's actual clothing should look like. I've never been that big into like Jane Austen and all of that kind of stuff, so I don't even have like the general media to go off of. Like really, Bridgerton was one of the first media of Regency, which I know like it's not really accurate fashion wise, whatever. Bridgerton was kind of my first exposure to Regency in media because I just never sought it out. But I was interested in all the sparkles from Bridgerton, so I'm not actually familiar with what men's clothing is supposed to look like and how it's really supposed to fit. I've never been good at men's clothing. It's just not a big interest of mine. But this seemed really boxy, and maybe that's how it's supposed to fit, but I did not personally like how it fit. I just went with it because on the pattern envelope it did look like really boxy, so I figured that was probably how it was supposed to look. I think if I were to make another waistcoat for Micah in the future, I'm going to make it a little bit more fitted because he is a little bit more Dorito shaped than I think average men that this is marketed towards. I don't know. I like the fabric I picked. I think that's cute, so yay for that, and I'm happy with my pockets. I thought also the finishing was really strange. I followed the pattern pretty closely, and they have you do a lot of things where they have you like tuck pieces under, and instead of like how we finish things modernly, like if it's things that need to go back to back, it's like bagged together or at least something similar. Whereas this one, it was like sew things together and then fold all the edges under and whip stitch it or fell stitch it, which I found very strange, and it makes everything look a lot bulkier. I could have done a more extreme pad stitching on the lapels of the waistcoat. I didn't because I was like, oh, it's a waistcoat, it's not a suit, like I should do a gentle curve, but I think I would have liked it better if I had done more of a hard curve and if they had really stayed flat, because as it is they kind of hovered a little bit and I didn't like that. So I think my main qualm is that I want this to look more like a modern suit, and like how it looks on Bridgerton where they made everything look Regency but modern. And the pattern that I used, both patterns that I used, were very historical patterns. So would I recommend these patterns? Maybe, if that's like the actual historical look you're going for, but for Bridgerton specifically, I don't think that these are the right patterns. I think that actually a more costumey pattern would have been better, but you know, I try to use historical patterns because a lot of them are more like indie pattern makers rather than like the big four companies, so I wanted to give those a try. However, I don't think they were really right for my purpose, but that's okay. This is all like a learning experiment, so this was my first time going into men's Regency wear, or like really menswear outside of school at all, because we had one class on tailoring and that was like really the only menswear that we covered, so I'm not really familiar with it, so don't take me as an expert. Generally, I think that it did go pretty well for my first attempt at Regency menswear, since I had kind of no idea what I was doing and was just kind of winging it. So I am not like completely disappointed in myself. I think that I could have done a better job, but I also made Micah's entire costume in 4 days. So I'm giving myself a little bit of slack. I thought that without conventions I would be done con crunching, and yet here we are still making things in 4 days. So the waistcoat came together entirely in 1 day. It was very fast. I think that despite the shortcomings, it went fairly well. So that's it. That's all I've got for this video. We've got one more menswear video. I'm going to be going over the tailcoat in the next video. So if you would like to see that, please subscribe. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any advice for me on Regency menswear, then please leave that in the comments. I hope to hear from you guys, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.